Have you ever laid awake at night, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet sound of her breathing beside you and felt completely alone? Not physically alone, but emotionally abandoned. Like the woman you built a life with, the woman you laughed with 10 years ago, the woman who once reached for your hand without thinking, is somehow gone. And the person lying next to you now feels like a familiar stranger wearing her face. It doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens in fragments. You start noticing the small things, the way her eyes don't quite meet yours when she talks about her day, the way her answers feel rehearsed, not detailed, not warm, just efficient. The phone that used to sit casually on the kitchen counter is now always in her hand, screen down, notifications silenced, guarded with a tension that feels almost defensive. If you walk into the room unexpectedly, there's a subtle shift, a flicker in her expression, a microsecond of panic she tries to hide. And your body feels it before your mind wants to admit it. There's a heaviness in your chest, a quiet alarm that won't shut off. A biological radar that has kept men alive for thousands of years is now whispering, something is wrong. But you were taught to suppress that voice, to be supportive, to not be insecure, to be understanding. So instead of listening to your instincts, you start questioning yourself. Maybe she's just stressed. Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I need to do better. So you try harder. You become more patient, more helpful, more accommodating. You start fixing problems that were never yours to fix. You adjust your tone. You walk on eggshells. You carry emotional weight that doesn't belong to you, all while the atmosphere in your own home grows colder, not loud, not explosive, just polite, clinical, like two coworkers sharing a space instead of two people in love. The warmth is gone. The laughter is scheduled. The intimacy feels obligatory, and somehow you feel like a guest in the very life you built. What makes it worse is the confusion. There's no clear crime scene, no confession, just a slow, calculated emotional withdrawal that makes you doubt your own perception. When you bring up the distance, she flips it back on you. You're imagining things. You're too sensitive. You're creating problems. And that's when the real damage begins. Because now it's not just suspicion, it's psychological warfare. You begin to question your sanity. The math of her loyalty no longer adds up, but you're being told the numbers are fine. You feel betrayed, yet you're the one apologizing. You feel hurt, yet you're the one trying to repair the connection. That erosion doesn't just break your trust, it eats at your identity. The masculine core that once felt steady starts to crack, not because you're weak, but because you're being drained while trying to protect something that may already be gone. Living in that gray zone where you know something is wrong but can't prove it is one of the most dangerous positions a man can occupy. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you second-guessing. It keeps you investing in someone who may already be emotionally checked out. You become the provider of stability while she quietly detaches. You become the fixer of moods you didn't create. You become the janitor cleaning up confusion she refuses to clarify. And all the while your intuition keeps knocking. This isn't about paranoia. It's about pattern recognition. It's about recognizing when love has been replaced with strategy, when communication has been replaced with concealment, when partnership has been replaced with performance. In this breakdown, we're going to walk through the first 2 moments where the mask of loyalty begins to crack, the subtle but undeniable shifts that reveal the truth beneath the surface, so you can stop managing her silence and start reclaiming your clarity. Because the goal isn't revenge, it's awareness. And once you see clearly, you stop being the janitor of someone else's deception and start becoming the architect of your own freedom.
I'm not here to argue with the world about what a real man is. I'm here for the men who are quietly trying to get their lives together, the ones rebuilding, the ones learning discipline the hard way, the ones who got knocked down and decided to stand back up. If you're working on yourself, even if nobody sees it, this channel is for you. Subscribe if you're serious about growth. Leave a comment so I know you're here. No noise, no hype, just men doing the work.
The first major moment that exposes the betrayal is the birth of the defensive wall. Behavioral observation suggests that for a woman to comfortably betray a man who provides for her, she must first dehumanize him in her own mind. This is a psychological survival mechanism. If she sees you as a great man and a good husband, her insular cortex, the part of the brain that processes social pain and guilt, would make the betrayal too painful for her to handle. To stop this pain, she begins to catalog every mistake you have ever made. Suddenly, things that were quirks 5 years ago are now deal breakers. The way you chew, the way you manage the finances, or the fact that you want to spend time with her becomes suffocating. Psychological patterns show that this hostility is a preemptive strike. She is angry at you because she is guilty of what she is doing with someone else. By staying in a state of constant irritation, she creates a gap that justifies her seeking comfort elsewhere. You find yourself walking on eggshells, trying to be perfect to win her back. But the more perfect you are, the angrier she becomes. Why? Because your goodness is a mirror that shows her how bad her choices are. You are the victim of moral inversion when the woman you love treats your virtues as vices just to protect her own secrets. We must also dive deep into the digital fortification protocol. Behavioral observations show that the modern affair doesn't start in a hotel. It starts in the palm of the hand. When a woman's loyalty shifts, her phone habits undergo a radical evolution. It is no longer a tool for communication. It becomes a black box containing a parallel reality. You'll notice the phone panic, that sudden jerky movement she makes when you walk into the room when she's texting. You'll notice that she takes the phone into the shower, into the bathroom, and even keeps it under her pillow at night. Psychological observation suggests that this hyper-attachment to the device is a symptom of dopamine addiction. She's getting validation from an outside source, and she is terrified of the withdrawal that would happen if you found out and cut off the supply. She will use words like privacy and boundaries to shame you for noticing. She will tell you that you're controlling or insecure for asking who she is talking to at 1 a.m. This is a classic deflection tactic. In a high-integrity union, there is privacy, but there is no secrecy. If she's guarding the screen with her life, it's because there's a life on that screen that doesn't include you. You are the victim of information asymmetry, when she knows everything about your life, but you are blocked out of hers by a 4-digit code. Let's look at the path of Silas. Silas was a man of old-school values. He believed that a man's job was to provide, protect, and stay quiet. He ran a successful landscaping business, working 12-hour days in the sun to ensure that his wife Elena could stay home and pursue her hobbies. Silas noticed that Elena had changed. She used to meet him at the door with a smile. Now she was always busy in the bedroom with the door locked. She started wearing expensive perfume just to go to the grocery store. She bought a second phone, claiming it was for a small business she was starting, but she never showed Silas any of the work she was doing. Silas is the loser in our story because he practiced compulsive forgiveness. Every time he found a clue, a receipt for a dinner for two, a strange name on the caller ID, or the smell of a different man's cologne in his own car, he allowed Elena to talk him out of his own sanity. She told him he was overworking and imagining things. Silas wanted to save the marriage so badly that he became an accomplice in his own betrayal. He spent 3 more years funding Elena's secret life. He lost his wealth, but more importantly, he lost his self-respect. By the time the truth came out, when he found her in a hotel room with a man she had been seeing for years, Silas was a shell of a man. He had ignored the 3 key moments for over 1,000 days. Silas lost because he thought love was a contract that both people signed, not realizing that for some, the contract is only valid as long as the benefits are high and the risk of getting caught is low. He was a victim of sunk cost blindness, throwing his life force into a black hole of disloyalty. The next layer of this betrayal is the erasure of the shared history. Behavioral observations suggest that a woman who is deep into an affair, she begins to rewrite the past. She will tell her friends, her family, and even herself that you were always mean or that the marriage was always broken. This is called retrospective alignment. She has to make the past look bad so that her present betrayal looks like an escape rather than a crime. Psychological observations suggest that she will stop wearing her wedding ring because it doesn't fit or it's being cleaned. She will stop posting photos of you on social media, creating a digital singlehood. She is curating a world where you do not exist, so that when she finally makes the move, the world is already primed to see her as the victim and you as the problem. You focus on the truth of your memories, but she is busy burning the archives. You are the victim of legacy sabotage when the years you spent building a good name are being dismantled by her whispers to outsiders. Furthermore, we must address the resource extraction phase. Behavioral observations show that a woman who is planning to leave or who is testing the waters with another man will often become hyper-focused on financial independence. You might notice she is hiding money, opening private accounts, or suddenly demanding a larger share of the assets while contributing less to the domestic peace. Psychological observations suggest that she is building a nest elsewhere while using your tree to support her. This is the most cold-blooded part of the process. She is using your provision to fund her transition. You are the victim of parasitic provision when you are paying the rent on a heart that has already moved out. You focus on being a good provider, but in this moment, your provision is actually subsidizing your own replacement. You have to understand that your gut feeling is not paranoia, it is pattern recognition. Your subconscious mind is faster than your logical mind. It sees the micro-expressions of guilt. It hears the pitch shift in her voice when she lies. It notices the 1-second delay when she answers a simple question about where she was. Behavioral observations suggest that truth is instant, but lies require calculation. That 1-second delay is the sound of her brain building a story instead of recalling a fact. Most men stay because they don't want to break up the family, but behavioral patterns show that the family is already broken the moment deception enters the master bedroom. You aren't keeping the peace, you are maintaining a lie, and maintenance of a lie is more expensive than the truth will ever be. You are the victim of stability at any price when you allow your home to become a front for her betrayal.
I don't make content for the average mindset. I make it for the man who holds himself accountable, the one who can say no to distractions, not because someone told him to, but because he decided to. If you're not ready to work on yourself, this won't resonate. But if you are, you belong here. Most people watch and move on. If you're different, subscribe and comment. Show yourself you're serious. The third key moment that exposes the betrayal is the complete removal of the emotional anchor. Behavioral observations suggest that in a healthy union, a woman uses her husband as her primary emotional regulator. She brings her fears, her joys, and her daily stresses to him. But when an affair is active, she finds a new regulator. Psychological patterns show that she will suddenly stop complaining to you. She will stop asking for your advice. You will notice a ghostly calm in her demeanor regarding her personal life. She is no longer invested in making you understand her because she feels understood by someone else. This is the silent divorce that happens months before the legal one. You are the victim of emotional eviction when you realize that the woman living in your house is sharing her soul with a person you've never met. We must also discuss the phenomenon of hysterical overcorrection. While some women become cold, behavioral patterns show that others will attempt to mask their infidelity through performative loyalty. She might suddenly start buying you expensive gifts, or she might become hypersexual in a way that feels inauthentic. Behavioral observations suggest that this is an attempt to satiate her own guilt and to distract you from the gaps in her story. She is using pleasure as a smokescreen. Psychological observations show that if the intensity of her affection suddenly spikes without a clear reason, she is likely compensating for a deficit of loyalty. You are the victim of sensory overload when she uses your desire to blind your discernment. Let's look at the path of Dominic. Dominic was a man who lived by a code of observation. He was a high-level investigator who applied the same logic that he did to his work. When he noticed his wife, Julia, had started shielding her phone and becoming vaguely aggressive during dinner, Dominic didn't scream and he didn't beg. He didn't even confront her immediately. Instead, he entered a state of strategic detachment. He watched the moments we've discussed unfold. He saw the digital fortification and the emotional withdrawal. Dominic is the winner in our story because he chose information over emotion. He spent 30 days quietly auditing his life. He checked the bank records, he secured his intellectual property, and he moved his primary assets into protected accounts. He didn't give Julia the satisfaction of a fight. When he had all the evidence, the hotel receipts and the call logs, he didn't present them in a rage. He placed them on the kitchen table while he was wearing his coat, suitcase in hand. He said, "I have observed the change in your character. I am no longer a participant in this version of our life." Dominic won because he realized that your reaction is her power. By remaining clinical, he stayed in control. Today, Dominic is remarried to a woman of high integrity. His net worth has tripled because he stopped subsidizing a liar, and he sleeps with the peace of a man who knows he can never be tricked again. He refused to be a victim of hope. He became a master of reality. The next layer of this exposure is the alibi instability. Behavioral observations suggest that lies have a half-life. They require constant maintenance and memory. When a woman is cheating, she eventually forgets which story she told you. You will notice micro-inconsistencies in her timeline. She said she was with Sarah, but Sarah's social media shows she was out of town. She said the car broke down, but the odometer doesn't match the distance. Psychological patterns show that when you point out these glitches, a guilty person will respond with gaslighting rather than clarification. She will call you crazy or obsessive to divert attention from the fact that her story is falling apart. You are the victim of reality distortion when you allow her aggression to make you doubt your own eyesight.
Furthermore, we must address the change in personal aesthetic. Behavioral patterns show that when a woman is hunting or maintaining a new connection, her physical presentation undergoes a second puberty. She might start wearing riskier clothing, spending twice as long on her grooming, or buying new lingerie that you never see her wear. Psychological observations suggest that she is rebranding herself for a new audience. If she is putting more effort into her appearance for a girls' night than she does for an anniversary dinner with you, her priorities have already shifted. You are the victim of visual deception when you are the one paying for the wardrobe that another man is appreciating. You also have to understand the social media sanitization. Behavioral observations suggest that a woman who is being unfaithful will often cleanse her digital presence of her husband. She stops posting couple photos. She changes her relationship status to hidden. She begins to post thirst traps or cryptic captions about new beginnings and finding herself. Psychological patterns show that she is signaling her availability to the market. She is marketing a single version of herself while you are still paying the mortgage on the married version. You are focusing on the like count, but you should be focusing on the intent. The final moment of exposure is the indifference to your pain. Behavioral observations show that the ultimate sign a woman has checked out is when she no longer cares if you are hurt. When you finally confront her with your suspicions, she doesn't try to comfort you. She doesn't reassure you. She looks at you with cold eyes and tells you to get over it. This is the death of empathy. Psychological patterns suggest that once she has justified her actions in her mind, your pain is just an inconvenience to her new happiness. You are better off alone, building a life of unshakable peace, than staying with a hollow shell of a woman who views her heartbreak as an annoyance. You are currently the general of your own life. The war for your dignity is won the moment you stop begging for the truth and start accepting the evidence. The 3 key moments weren't just signs, they were your orders to retreat and rebuild. I have a smart question for the men who have the mental fortitude to finish this blueprint for detection. If you were driving a car at 100 miles per hour and the oil light, the engine light, and the brake light all started flashing at once, would you keep driving because you like the color of the car, or would you pull over before the whole machine exploded? You are the driver. The lights are flashing. Stop looking at the paint and start looking at the engine. Drop a comment below and tell the Brotherhood, what was the one moment where the mask finally fell off for you, and how did you handle the realization that you were living with a stranger? If you are still in the evaluation phase, which of these signs is currently the loudest in your house? Share your observation logic. Your vision might be the eyes for a brother who is currently walking in the dark. Let's build the council of discerning men together. If you made it all the way to the end, I genuinely appreciate you. That tells me you're not just watching, you're thinking, you're reflecting, you're working on yourself, and you're not alone in that anymore. There's a community here of men choosing growth over excuses. If this message gave you something valuable, subscribe and be a part of it. Leave a comment. I read them and your voice matters here. Keep doing the work. I'll see you in the next one.